Am I the a-hole for not helping my sister and her family with housing after she refused to help me when I was homeless? In 2018, I was 22 and in my final year of university, working a job that paid okay, and I managed to afford a cheap flat with a housemate. I honestly thought life was gonna be great, as I had a few months left of my degree, and I saw myself being able to eventually going into a better paying job with a better place to live in. Well, my landlord decided to sell and gave us 2 months notice to leave. I had no hard feelings and I had every confidence I'd find a place, but man, I got terrible luck. Everything was out of my price range, and my roommate decided to move back home. It took me almost my whole 2 months notice to find an affordable flat to rent, and I basically had to wait 4 months to be able to move in. I basically was at a loose end, and so I asked my sister if I could stay with her husband, and their 2 kids, as she's all the family I have, just for a few weeks till I figured something out. I was okay with her telling me no, but she basically was so cruel, and that she told me I wasn't her problem. I should have been more prepared, and that I better enjoy being homeless as she's not giving me any handouts. Not gonna lie, her words hurt a lot, and she was so bitter that I decided to never ask her for a favor again. I ended up just asking a friend to store my things for me, and was couch surfing between her and some other friends for the whole 4 months, whilst having little to no money to my name, as all my money went to the new flat or paying my friends upkeep for having me. I offered as I felt bad for them having me. I was in the flat for 3 years until I finally managed to save enough for a little 3-bedroom house for me after working my butt off to get a job relevant to my degree. And scrimping. I'm okay now, but I'll never forget how cruel my sister was and how awful being homeless was. I'm 26 now and have gone low contact with her. I never really hear from her unless she wants something. And she told me that basically her and her family cannot afford their mortgage due to the rates going up. She says they're going to have to sell the house and find something cheaper, and ask if they could stay with me for a while. She said she could pay something and even the kids could share a room, and I told her no way in hell. I told her I was sorry for her situation, but that she made it clear years ago she wasn't responsible for me, so I'll extend the same courtesy to her. Now she is saying I'm a heartless a-hole and ruining her kids' lives. Edited to add, I should add that her kids are my nephews, but I barely know them. My sister and I have an okay relationship, but it's clear I'm an afterthought to her. When I say she only messages when she wants something, I mean like she'll send me pictures of the boys, then immediately ask for money to get them something. Stuff like that. From what I know, the boys are pretty spoiled. They are 8 and 9, and I have literally only been around them a handful of times. My sister is 10 years older than me and bailed out on home when she was 17, so I guess I'm like a stranger to her. The boys and my brother-in-law are all similar to my sister. Only ever interested in me if they want something, so any hopes of a relationship don't seem to exist, I guess. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She has already proven how toxic she is. You do not want that for a roommate. I'm very sorry that anybody will be homeless, even your sister. But that doesn't mean that I have to take them in. If you let her move in, you may never get her to move out. Given her history, it seems unlikely she would give you any money. Forget money. She's not even going to give OP respect. That is not the sort of person you want in your home. Yep, I was thinking that if OP lets the sister and her family move in, then they will take over the home. The brother-in-law and sister-in-law will take control and try to push OP out of their home by making it too much their own, and will also want OP for childcare all the time. They showed who they are, OP. Perhaps they should heed their own advice and plan better next time. Not the a-hole. Karma at its finest? Obviously, there is no joy to be derived from in a bad situation. But honestly, she has no leg to stand on, considering that she refused her being to do the same thing for you. And in her case, she also has a family which would crowd your own house a lot. You can rest easy knowing you treated her like she treated you. And if she doesn't like it, she should have thought about it before, when you were the one in trouble. If you want to do anything nice about it, I would take in the kids, because kids are not at fault for the parents' actions. But really, you have no obligations towards her. I don't blame the kids, but I barely know them. Our relationship only exists practically via phone. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I won't help, and I will leave our house if her brother comes to Thanksgiving? My wife and I are supposed to host Thanksgiving for her family this year. Her parents are flying in tomorrow night and are staying with us until Saturday. Her sister and her family live a couple hours away, so they are coming just for the day on Thursday. One family member that I specifically asked about was her younger brother, Mike. Mike has struggled with substance use and gambling for as long as I've been with my wife. Shortly after my wife and I got married, he conned my wife out of about $5,000. She pulled the money from our shared account without talking to me about it. The money was supposed to be for a down payment on a house that Mike was going to renovate and flip, and he promised my wife that he would give her more than double back after he sold the house. Well, he didn't even buy the house. He used the money to pay off some gambling debts, go on a bender, and gamble the rest away. Cherry on top was that we had to pay to bail him out of jail after he got caught breaking into a hardware store near the end of his bender. After that, I told my wife I was done with her brother and want nothing to do with him. She tried to talk me out of it by saying he's still family, and all that BS that enablers like to say. He showed up at our house about 6 months after that, but I was the only one home. He said he wanted to talk to his sister, but I told him to leave before I called the cops. He tried to apologize, but I told him that unless he has $5,000 to put in my hand, I don't want to hear a word he has to say. I told my wife what happened, and she called me out for being a jerk to her brother when he was trying to apologize. But I just don't trust him. When we were planning Thanksgiving, I was told by my wife that Mike is not attending. I specifically asked, and she said he isn't coming. But last night, my mother-in-law called for a final chat before they fly out, to make sure they didn't need to bring anything else. My wife had her on speaker, and mother-in-law asked if my wife had heard from Mike. My wife quickly took her off speaker and left the room. When she came back, she immediately started trying to explain. She said that Mike had apologized to everyone in the family and has been totally clean for almost a year. She said he started his own business and is doing really well. She said that she invited him to Thanksgiving because it's supposed to be about family and coming together. She said that everyone in the family has forgiven him, and she needs me to forgive him too. I told her that if Mike shows up, I will leave. I told her that I have forgiven her for giving him that money without talking to me about it, but I haven't forgiven him, and I don't want to see him. She asked me to do it for her because it's important to her, and I told her that this is a hard boundary for me, and if he comes, I go. She said I'm putting her in an impossible position to choose between her brother and her husband, and I need to forgive him like everyone else has. Not the a-hole. If your wife wants to mend a relationship between you and him, work needs to be done on a non-holiday day. She can't expect you to just magically be okay with this. The fact that she lies to you about his attendance and was just going to surprise you with it is another kettle of fish altogether, and would already have me questioning a lot of things about your marriage. I'm guessing that my wife thought that if Mike showed up with her entire family there, they could have a kind of mini intervention and convince me to forgive him because they all have. But to me, it feels like an ambush. That's because it is an ambush. Even if Mike doesn't come, you got a big problem. I'd start looking up marriage counselors if I were you. This exactly, OP. Your issue isn't that you can't trust Mike, it's that you can't trust your wife. I think regardless, the bigger issue is your wife constantly does things and then talks you down about how big of an issue they are. Dude, she's not communicating with you responsibly in your relationship. Seriously. First, she goes behind OP's back to steal money, then goes behind his back to plan an ambush with her brother. Who knows what else she's doing behind his back? I don't see how she can be trusted after this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for pointing out that my brother lives a very privileged life? My 45 male, older brother 51 male lives with me. He's never really been good at life. He's had a few jobs here and there, but mostly just stuff like Walmart, McDonald's, and he delivered pizzas for about a month. He's never held down a job for more than 60 days. He dropped out of high school and never bothered to get a GED, let alone any college/trade school. He mostly just sits in his room drinking my booze, smoking my pot, and eating my food while he plays whatever JRPG he's currently obsessed with. I don't mind this. I truly don't. I did well in life and my wife invested our money very well, so we're comfortable. I have more than enough resources to support him fully for the rest of our lives, and I intend to do so. He's not taking food out of my kids' mouths. He's not cutting into their college funds. It's literally extra money that I would just be squirreling away if I didn't spend it on him. Last night at dinner, my wife told me that her brother lost his job. He worked for a company that recently had a massive layoffs, so it was due to no fault of his own, and asked me if we could float him some cash for bills and stuff while he finds a new job. I told her to have him send me an estimate of how much he needs to cover 6 months, and that was that. Or so I thought. My brother proceeded to head over to Facebook and post a rant about how people need to be more self-reliant and not ask for handouts they didn't earn. He didn't mention my brother-in-law by name, but it was pretty clear that that's what triggered his rant. I commented on his post and I asked him how living off of me for the past 9 years was self-reliant. I told him that he is in an incredibly privileged position because not everyone has a millionaire brother to pay all their bills for them. I also asked how the allowance I give him every week is not a handout. Anyway, a bunch of his friends from his video game started clowning on him in the comments. Apparently, he tells people online that he's an investment banker. So he deleted the post and has not come out of his room since. There's an ensuite bathroom, don't worry. My wife says it was messed up for me to call him out publicly like that, and that I could have been more respectful about it. And my aunt is furious with me for airing the family laundry. So I kind of think I might be the a-hole here. Not for what I said, but for the fact I said it publicly. But at the same time, I don't feel like the a-hole because this rant was public too. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. A prime example of fool around and find out. I'd kick him out to prove a point, honestly. No way I could do that over this. It'd be one thing if he were dangerous. Like, I'd toss him out in a heartbeat if I felt we weren't safe with him here. But being a bit of a prick isn't enough for me to make him homeless. And that's what I'd essentially be condemning him to. There's nowhere else to go, and he has no skills that could make him enough money to survive. Even still, you should stop coddling him. He can't even work at Walmart for longer than 2 months? He said it made him feel like a slave to the capitalist machine, so he had to quit. He also didn't want to sell hours of his life $8 at a time, which honestly I kind of agree with. $8 per hour is insanely low. Even a cheap apartment out here is $600 per month. So that's like 2 weeks of full-time work before taxes, just to pay rent. Rent is supposed to be a third of your income, not half. So he feels working for a place like Walmart, which to be honest is the only type of place someone like him can work at this point, is being a slave to the capitalist machine, while he criticizes handouts being provided. Not the a-hole, obviously. You are saving this man's life, and he's insanely lucky to not be homeless right now. Not the a-hole. He decided to do something unnecessary in public. Your aunt seems very fond of him. Will she be taking him in soon? She literally can't. She's in publicly subsidized senior housing. They can't even have overnight guests, let alone move someone else in with them. They'd both end up on the street. The more I think about this, the more shocking I find their attitudes. I have this with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. They live with my parents-in-law, but because they aren't physically receiving cash from them, just a home and food and use of the car, they don't think they're scrounging. Legit said they were financially independent. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not helping my sister pay for college after I used her college fund? I, 30 female, have a sister Anna, 27 female, and we used to be close, and I thought we had a good relationship. Then my ex-boyfriend James, 30 male, entered the picture. I met him while in college and was completely head over heels for him. I thought we were going to get married, get a house, have babies, and all the other sappy rom-com cliches. He was the second boyfriend I ever had in life at a time. When my sister first met him, she said that she couldn't possibly see what I saw in him and would sometimes show passive-aggressive hostility. My sister was one of the most important people in my life, and I really wanted her and James to get along. So, I encouraged outings with the three of us from time to time. Then one day I got sick at one of the planned outings, but insisted that it was okay for James and Anna to go without me. After that, Anna and James became more friendly with one another, and I was actually happy. Until one day, my parents sat me down and told me that Anna was pregnant and how she was going to marry the father. I was shocked. And when I asked who the father was, my heart was shattered when they told me it was James. Anna was staying at our grandparents' house in another state, but when I went to confront James, his sister came out and apologized to me for the situation, and that their parents and mine were pressuring Anna and James to marry after they got caught. I was so distraught, And to make it up to me, my parents offered to pay for my trip abroad, as well as grad school while giving me an allowance. They told both Anna and me that the money was going to come out of whatever they had saved for her college expenses as restitution to me, and said that Anna needed to focus on being a mother first, and that school would have to come later. After spending a lot of weeks sobbing over it, I agreed to their offer and stopped speaking to Anna and James. Fast forward to now, James has passed away and Anna has 2 kids to support. She's yet to find a job that will pay her enough and decided to go back to school. Anna is struggling really hard with her finances and asked me if I would be willing to loan her the money and that she'd pay me back after graduation. I have the money and she knows it, but I told her no. She got upset and called me selfish because by punishing her, I was effectively going to make her kids suffer as our parents are no longer in a position to help. I've started to get messages from people stating that I owe her for taking her college money and calling me the golden child, but I don't see it that way. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, my sister was 18 and a senior in high school when she met James. She was 19 or 20 when she gave birth. Technically, the money my parents gave me out of her college fund was theirs and just designated for Anna. She had no legal claim to it. When my parents found out that Anna was pregnant, they gave her a choice. Put the baby up for adoption. Keep the baby and marry the father. Keep the baby but don't marry the father and be disowned. Not the a-hole. Continue no contact and live your life. She didn't care about you until she wanted something from you. Her kids are not your responsibility. This, she made her bed and now let her lay in it. What truly awful people both your sister and James were/are. However, she is your sister and betrayed you in the worst possible way. I'm so sorry and wish you the best, not the a-hole. I mean, she screwed with her sister's boyfriend. I understand why their terms were this harsh. It's like they were saying, you broke your sister's heart and our trust, might as well make it count. Not saying I agree, but I can see why they had these conditions in place.